The Beatles. There's a great way to start a Sunday talk by playing the Beatles. So in my life, why that song? It's interesting. When you get through that song and you listen to the whole thing, at the end it says, I'll look at this, I'll look at that, I'll look at the other thing, I'll remember you, I'll have memories, I'll have this person I love, that person I love. But at the end of it all, in my life, I love you more. And for a long time, I always thought that was one of the greatest love songs ever written. But I also feel it could be the greatest metaphysical song ever written. Because if we were to really understand life and love in a way that takes us out of this kind of interpersonal place of one person to another, recognizing there's never really one person to another. There's always this huge field of energy that two people are communicating within. And to the degree that we can expand our communication in that energy to the biggest version of that field of love, there really is one thing that I will love more than anything else, and that is love itself. And so when I listen to this song now, I think about my life, type of the song, in my life, there's a lot that I can point to. And I don't know about you, but are you finding this time, this pandemic, this isolation, are you guys finding that you're thinking more about of your past, thinking more about what's happened thus far? Why have things happened? Where am I? What do I want to do? I mean, there's just more time for the mind to start putting the pieces together and actually making great sense out of this thing called life. And I look at all the things that I've loved in life. I look at all the people in my life. You start out with your family. You start out with your birth family, the people that came into life with. And then you move off to your friends. As a parent, I remember when my kids suddenly realized there were other people besides me. When suddenly they realized they had friends. And I'd be like, what? No, everything's me. And this is our life. This is everything. And then they go out and they find their friends. And then suddenly on a Friday night, they're not wanting to stay home with you and cook dinner. And no, they're out with their friends. And you're like, how did this happen? And so we understand the stages of intercommunication, personalities, all of our relationships. And then you get to, 65 years old in the middle of a pandemic, and you start looking at all of this and going, wait, what's the sense here? What is it really telling me? In my life, I love you more. You, what is you? So who is you? Now, I could say it's God, but then that takes God to that anthropomorphized place of being a guy in the sky with gray hair. I could say you, meaning I understand who you are, but you represent all. You as in the capital U. It's all of you. So that's why when I said, how about this song? It always makes me cry, except when I'm playing the guitar trying to figure out the chords. Then I don't have time to cry. But it always really touches me with that. So the title of my talk today is Can You Imagine? Isn't that a beautiful? And you're showing that on the screen, right, Thor? For everybody at home to see a real clean picture of that? Good. So there you see it. There's this huge world there, and there's an eagle. And I mean, look at that. Look at that huge planet, Earth. I don't know if it's Earth or what it is, but just is it the moon? Okay. So I can't tell. But it's just the whole concept of this that there's one thing going on. The earth, the sky, the moon, the stars, all of it. I just love that. So, my question to you today, the title of the talk is Can You Imagine? But my question to you is, are you willing to imagine? Are you willing to imagine things differently? So, we had a Zoom dinner with Dylan and Becky, Dylan Neal and Becky Southwell here. We had it on Friday night, I think it was. Was it Friday? And we all were talking about something. Kevin was talking about a book he's reading. And what came up was the movie Contact. And so I said, we're sitting talking about this, and I said, we're going to watch that. As soon as we're done dinner, we're just going to pull it up on Amazon and watch it. So we did. And it was as though I had never seen the movie before. I was like, I don't remember seeing this. Kevin's like, James. I was like, no, I don't really remember seeing this until the very end. And I don't think I'm giving anything away. If you haven't seen Contact, bad on you. If you haven't seen Contact, oh well. But at the end, there's this beautiful, beautiful moment. It is about, is there life outside of Earth? On one level. But on a grander level, and I think the level that I most was interested in, was the existence of God against the backdrop of the infinite nature of spirit. So really this movie was all about the existence of, does God exist? And they had a religious scholar with Jodie Foster, who was the scientist, and watching them navigate this story of, it's faith, it's God, there has to be something running all of this, and the scientific agnostic saying, no, it's science. And until you can prove to me that there is a God, in my mind, it may or it may not, but it will not be a definitive yes. Until they get to the end of the movie, and she does make this journey where she literally goes to another, what is it, Vega? The Vegas galaxy? Vega, the Vega galaxy. She drops in and she's there for 18 hours. And what the intelligence of Vega has done for her is created a world that seemed reasonable to her. And as she's standing on a beach, which is a picture she drew at the beginning of the movie, which went over my head for a moment, and there comes her father, who had died when she was 9, down the beach, and he starts to talk to her, and then she realizes it because she's touching and realizing that everything she's touching kind of vibrates. And she says, she says, "You're not really here, are you?" And the intelligent being says, "No, but we knew you would relate to this better and it would make it easier for you to understand." And I have to say, my eyes were tearing up and I was getting all caught up in this understanding of God. And I started to question everything myself. I don't know about you, but when I watch a movie that engages me, I choose which character I am. And interestingly enough, I didn't choose Matthew McConaughey, although I look more like him. But I didn't choose Matthew McConaughey, who was the religious scholar. I chose Jodie Foster, who said, "Prove it or I can't go with it," which means I'm suddenly Eric Bork. And so, and I know you're watching, Eric. I am. He and I are very similar. So the question, I came up to this, and I'm right in the middle of building a doctorate program right now for our center through the Emerson Institute. And the head of the Emerson Institute and I were on the phone Friday for a while talking this out and how is this going to work. And I suddenly came to an understanding of what I wanted this next program that I'm developing to be. And I think you're going to enjoy this, Tiffany, since I know you'll be in this class. The theme of the doctorate program is going to be question everything. Question everything. Do you like that, Tiffany? Yes. Question everything. But I'm okay with you questioning it, and that's where this contact thing came in. I'm okay with you questioning it, and I want to. I question everything. I'm questioning everything right now. I'm questioning the existence of God because I want to know, how far do I get with this questioning? And what I realize is I'm willing to question everything, but not at the expense of what I know. And that's what really came to me. I am willing to question it all. I'm willing to debunk it all. I'm willing to argue it all down a tube, right? I'm willing to do all of that, but I will not argue with what I innately know. When Heather sings In the Silence, and I'm just listening to that, I go somewhere. Where do I go? Where does my mind go? What is my mind capable of knowing beyond, taste, touch, feel? What am I capable of understanding beyond the relative facts that keep being presented to me? Jodie Foster dropped down into a worm and ended up in Vega, in the galaxy. And what did she find out? I mean, that was what's so fascinating about this movie to me. At the end, she was just ablaze with no new information, by the way. But she was just ablaze with, there's something bigger than this. There's something bigger. And what if that's what God is? What if God is all of the galaxies, every bit of intelligence that's being used, and all the creative energy of life that just continues to just be poured through everything? If that is what God is, and I believe that is what God is, then why are we arguing so much about what is God? I think it's that we're trying to really argue against what we've been taught our whole lives and still make that paradigm shift from a God in the sky that judges us, that compliments us, that gives us gifts and takes things away, to an all-sentient, understanding being and intelligence that I am. And so at the end of the movie, it was so great because Matthew McConaughey and her, besides the fact that, of course, it was a Hollywood movie, so they were doing a love affair, at the end of the movie, she gets into the limousine. They're just about to pull away, and everybody's, they've actually almost prosecuted her because when she came back, they said nothing happened, and it was just trillions of dollars wasted. But that wasn't really what happened, because in her camcorder that she recorded everything, while it looked like she went right to the water in like 45 seconds, nothing happened. She was able to record 18 hours of static. Meant that for some 18 hours she was somewhere. So she's getting into the car, and now we're still looking at faith and science, God and science. And here's the religious person. And she gets into the car, and all these people are screaming at them with questions. And someone gets the question, do you believe her? To the religious scholar. And he turns and he looks to everyone and he says, I have to say something like this. He says, I have to say that in me that has faith believes her. And so suddenly, I'm getting all emotional. Science and truth and knowing and religion came together in that moment. And I know it's a Hollywood movie, but first, before it was a Hollywood movie, it was a book written by a brilliant scientist who was an agnostic, who literally spent most of his life arguing for or against the existence of God. So, I'm watching Mary Poppins today. We'll see what happens next week. So, question everything, but at the end of the day, what do you know? So Joseph Campbell said this, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Now here's the interesting thing. The coronavirus, they now know, comes from a bat. Came from a bat in a cave. And I pulled up this quote, and then I'm listening to the news talking to me, and I was like, why am I hearing about caves from everywhere? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. This virus that some of us are so afraid of, I am not afraid of this virus, but I get the fear around it and people dying and what it's doing, the havoc it's creating in economies. I get all that. But if we look at Joseph Campbell, the cave you fear to enter is the one that has the answers. This virus has the answers for us. What we are going through right now has the answers for us. In the silence of my mind going through this, there are answers. I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. Because there's so much more for me to know. I'm the spiritual director of this center. I am required to at least know what I'm teaching and to give voice to what I teach, to let people like Jason and Heather and Eric and Craig question me and argue everything against it. I guess what's happened in this pandemic is I've landed in their seat, and I'm wondering, where's my place in this now if I'm just going to question everything? But I know the answer because it just came to me as I said it, because I heard this voice going, oh, get over yourself. I can question anything like all of you and still leave room for what I know. And that's what we have to really look at here. And that's what Joseph Campbell's talking about. Don't be afraid to enter the cave. Don't be afraid of this silence. Don't be afraid of this isolation. Don't be so quick to want it to be over. Don't be so quick to thinking we should go back to what we were, because Ernest Holmes says, we do not save that which was lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. So I'm not here to save and go back to what was. I don't want to go back to what was. I don't want what was to be the prevalent way we live life, which means, broken off from one another, where we don't see each other as what we truly are. In my life, I love you more. I love the understanding of love and oneness more than any relative fact. So don't be so quick to think this should be over. We need to solve this now. Let's get out of that mindset and start understanding it's here for a reason, and it shouldn't leave until the reason's found. And I do think many of us have found it. And so just allow that, what you find from this, to be the rule of your day. Robert Frost said, in 3 words, I can sum up everything I have learned about life. 3 little words. What do you think they are? No, I am God would be lovely. Not Robert Frost. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I have learned about life. It goes on. That's it. I thought that was so cool. We get so lost in the past, and we need to explore the present to ensure the future. So think about that. We need to explore the present so that we can ensure the future. That doesn't mean explore the past. We got what we got out of the past. Believe it or not, it came, it went, it's in the past. Hakuna Matata. But explore the present. Right now you have the presence, you have the power, you have the mind, you have the intelligence, you have the wisdom to ask the questions. Why? I do this all the time with my classes. They all get really annoyed when I do it. But I'll ask them an answer to a question. They'll give me the exact answer as they have learned it, and then I will say, but why? So I'll say, what is divine principle? Oh, we're spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by our use of a spiritual law, the law of cause and effect. And I'll say, yeah, but why is that true? And they're like, what? I learned all that. I memorized that. Yeah, well, but why is it true? What does it mean? So it is time for us in our time that we have now to start asking questions. Be willing. Can you imagine what could possibly be beyond this if we actually started being willing to imagine? Imagine something bigger. This is what happens when I watch these movies like Contact. I'm going to watch that other one next. What's the one I said? Interstellar. No, not Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Although, he said Harry. Oh, Mary Poppins. I thought you said Harry Potter. Interstellar. Another one I loved when all the buildings just started crashing, collapsing because time is not real. Just amazing. So, I have a gift for you today. I have a very dear friend. Her name is Amanda McBroom. She wrote the song The Rose. Well, she has written another song. Well, she's written many songs. But she wrote a brand new song, and she sent it to me a few days ago. It's called America Lives in Me, and she wrote it with a man named Jimmy Dunn. I'm not sure what that is. Sung by Annie Bosco. So I called Thor and I said, I really want to show this because I've now watched it 10 times, and it has just so expanded my soul. And I called Amanda. I sent her an email and I said, may I present this? Because brand new. It hasn't even come out yet, really. She just put it on YouTube. I said, can I present this live at my center on Sunday? And she wrote back and she went, absolutely, enjoy. And so, enjoy. America Lives in Me.
America, I sing to you tonight. You're a candle in the darkness, a bright and shining light. So many different faces, each one with a dream, a never-changing tapestry, more than what you see. You're the face of every mother and every child at play, the strength within a father's arms at the end of every day. From the farmlands to the cities, to the small town sea to sea, is the dream that's in all of us to be all we can be. America lives in me. America, we remember who we are. We're the children of the dreamers who came from near and far. Every act of kindness in ways both small and grand. We know courage and compassion, an open heart and hand. Whatever
Isn't that beautiful? So, at the top of the video, there was a quote: "In the most challenging times, we discover who we are. In the most challenging times, we discover, I could say, we remember who we are." And then she says in the lyrics, "We remember who we are. We're the children of the dreamers who come from near and far." So I want to close my section of this by just saying to you, we've been given an opportunity to slow down, to calm down, to listen, and remember who we are. We've also been given the opportunity to remember that we are born from the dreamers. We do come from the infinite mind, the creative mind. And right where we are right now in this present moment, all I can truly see is the opportunity for all of us to get that much clearer on who and what we are. When I see images of a whole city coming out of their house, banging pots and pans and just screaming to one another, that's people realizing, maybe for the first time in my lifetime, how important it is to recognize one another, to love one another. But more importantly, just as this whole talk today began, in my life, what is there to love more than the very truth that right where I stand, God is? Whatever version of God you claim, what more could there possibly be for me to love? How could I love anything more than this energy that we are all brought forth from? And once we get that, really get that, and we're brought forth from this, we will understand, I am you, you are me. I am God, you are God. There is only one thing going on. And I love that it said America lives in me, but I would say the entire universe lives in me, because the closing to my talk is an image I want you to realize or try to envision. At the opening of the movie Contact, it's all this unbelievable pictures like that, this gorgeous wavelengths and sound vibrations and clouds, and it's just amazing. But when it finds its point, it ends up in her eye and comes out of her eye. And you start to realize that this movie, this brilliant movie, was giving us an opportunity to understand it's not all this, folks. It's all of this and all of this. And it's one thing. And if it took a pandemic for me to sit down and watch a movie again and get that much more in touch, to contact that in me that really understands this and is now even more ready to question everything, then good for it. Namaste.